Joking.
All right. Good evening. We are in Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis. We are 14 or 16 lines from the bottom, somewhere near there. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia. Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia said, still using my art scroll for the last little bit of this medical journal here. So hopefully I'll be back tomorrow to my regular Gemara, but we'll just keep on. I didn't bring two Gemaras for tonight. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia. Rav Zutra Bar Tuvia says, Amar Rav, the name of Rav. Ayin Shemarda. If you've got a rebellious eye, how does your eye rebel? It starts to bulge out, apparently. So it starts to get dangerous in that it is swelling. Mutter lekochla b'Shabbos. You're allowed to put some kind of ointment or salve on it on Shabbos. Yeah, some kind of medication that they would have. Even though he said you can't do any medication on Shabbos. Savor mina, you can see that from there. Hanimilihu deshachki simonim be'esmol. That's only if you have already ground the herbs from yesterday, meaning that you are in a circumstance where you're only violating the rabbinic prohibition of applying the medicine, but not the Torah prohibition of grinding the herbs.
It is like pikuach nefesh?
That's the issue. If it was pikuach nefesh, you could even grind the herbs, right? So this seems to not be pikuach nefesh, but nevertheless dangerous enough that you can violate the rabbinic prohibition. That's what we're saying. Aval mishachik b'Shabbos, if you were going to grind it up on Shabbos in the first place, v'asuye derech rishus rabbim, or if you had to bring the medicine through the public area, which would be also a Torah prohibition of carrying, so then that you would not be able to do. Okay, because only this seems to be that it's a threat to the person's ability to see, not a threat to the person's life. Amar lehumi Rabbanan. So one of the rabbis, Rabbi Yaakov Shmei, and Rabbi Yaakov was his name. Ledidi mifresh minei Rabbi Yehuda, that it was explained to me, right? That Rabbi Yehuda explained to me, afilu mishachik b'Shabbos v'asui derech rishus harabim muter. Even if you had to grind it, and even if you had to carry it through a public domain, it would still be permitted, even though you'd be in violation of a Torah prohibition, right? Because there's this harm to your eye could actually cause life-threatening injuries as well. Rav Yehuda shara lemichal eina b'Shabbos. In all those circumstances, Rav Yehuda permitted you to make the anointing on Shabbos. Okay, that's what he did. So Amar lehu Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. So Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda said, "Man tzayis liYehuda machal shabi." So he says, who's gonna listen to Yehuda who's desecrating the Shabbos? So chash be'enei. So then Shmuel himself caught this illness, and he had this rebellious eye disease. Shalach le shari aser. So he asked Rabbi Yehuda, is it permitted or is it not permitted to put this ointment on?
Say it's not permitted.
Well, remember that he had just permitted it a line ago. He had just permitted it. So now, Shalach le, he sent back to him, L'kuli amashari, for everybody else, it's permitted. L'didach, aser. But for you, it's aser. Why? Because you're the one who complained. You made a comment when I said it was permissible. You made a comment. You accused me of permitting that which is prohibited. V'chi mididihu demar Shmueli. And after all, am I the one? I made this halacha up. You think I made this halacha up? I learned this from Mar Shmuel. So there was a story of there was a certain maidservant, Dehavi Bey Mar Shmuel, that was in Mar Shmuel's house. She got this eye illness. Who was
Mar Shmuel?
Do not know exactly who Mar Shmuel is. We'll look up who Mar Shmuel is in the introduction afterwards. So her eye was bothering her on Shabbos. Tzavcha v'leka de'ashkach ba. So she was crying out, but nobody paid attention. She figured, okay, it's an eye illness, and there's not much we can do about it. I guess they didn't have any of the eye ointment available. They weren't going to grind anymore. Paka eina, and her eye, she lost her eye, right? Lemachar, so, excuse me. The next day, Nafak Mar Shmuel v'darish. Mar Shmuel went out in public, and he saw Ayin Shemarda, and he darsh. He explained Ayin Shemarda. If the eye is rebelling, mutter lekochla b'Shabbos. You're allowed to put the ointment on Shabbos. My timeout. Why is that? Dishoraini de'ena be'ovanto deliba talu, that the eyesight is connected to the muscles of the heart. And so it's two things somehow connection. It's not really, right? But there's, I guess, indicating that in some way there is the loss of the eye can create a life-threatening condition. And therefore, that is why you can even violate Torah prohibition in order to save the eye. Okay, so now, Kelon Mai. So what would be an example of such an eye ailment that we would be able to provide some kind of this ointment? So Amar Rav Yehuda. So Rav Yehuda says this is Kigon Rira. So it's like Rira, and it's Ditza. It's a rash. This is where I will take a look at my art school English. Rira is an excessive discharge, and Ditza is a stabbing pain in the eye. Dama is blood in the eye, and then also be'uvanto and dimasa, and also excessive tearing of the eye. Vekidcha, and also inflammation of the eye. Utchilas uchla. So at the beginning of any of these, you can treat on Shabbos. Lafuki sof uchla. As opposed to if you're already at the end of the ailment, meaning you've already had it treated. Let's say you've got this illness on Friday and you already treated it and it still hurts, but you already treated it. So in that case, there's no need to treat it again on Shabbos. That wouldn't be permissible. Upetzuche eina.
If it was treated and you feel more pain than what you have felt before.
Well, maybe then it wasn't treated properly. Maybe it would be a different story. But here we're talking about a circumstance. The treatment is already in place. No need to treat again. And so therefore we don't do it again. And patzuche eina, and also if you wind having patzuche eina, which he says is to improve one's vision, right? If all you're doing is to improve it somehow, that you're at the status where it's not really dangerous or whatever, but you want to put something in order to get your vision, to fix your vision, so that's below, that would not be acceptable. I would wonder what would happen with eye drops, for example. If somebody had a circumstance where it wasn't dangerous, whether you'd be permitted to put eye drops in, ask your rabbi.
You're a rabbi. We can ask you.
Seems to me I would avoid it, but I wasn't going to say it. Ask your rabbi. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says Zibora, when it comes to being stung by a hornet, Udecharze, Silva, or one who has skin that's been pierced by a thorn. Visimta, or if he's got a blister, Udekevle Eina, or that he has pain in his eye. V'asi ilave ishasa, and now he's got some kind of fever as a result of all of that.
Which is an infection right away.
Yeah, so it sounds like that. So then kulahu bebani sakanta. So in all of those circumstances, if you take a bath, that's very dangerous, right? Because they would take a warm bath. Take a warm bath with fever, that compounds the heat in your body.
How about a cold bath?
That would seem to be something that people did, right? People would take cold baths in order to reduce fever, right? But this is taking a bath is a bad idea for all of those circumstances. So chama lechama, if you eat a radish, radishes are good for taking for fever.
And bitter.
And bitter? Yeah, they may be. Vesilka litzina, and beets are good if you have the chills. Okay, so that's it. Take care of yourself that way. Vechilufa, but if you do the reverse, so sakanto, that's going to be damaging, right? Because the radish is going to reduce the body heat, and the beet is going to increase the body heat. You don't want to wind up increasing your body heat if you've already have it increased. I don't know if this works. Just saying.
Is this like how we do the simanim on Rosh Hashanah?
Yeah,
like it's like a play on words. It seems like
this one
chama.
This one is. That's exactly what this is. This is indeed a play on words. Right, but I don't know if that is the reason why it works.
Right,
but they are definitely noticing that. Yeah, this is the way you're going to remember it. Chama lechama and silka letzina. Okay, chamimi leakrava. That a hot compress is good for scorpions. Right, if you get stung by scorpions. Ukrili the zibura, and a cold compress is good for a bee sting or hornet sting. Right, vechilufa sakanta, but the reverse is bad. Right, you don't want to put a warm compress on a bee sting or the reverse. That's not good. Chamimi li silva, right? So you should put hot water on a thorn, the kariri lechaspanisa, and you put cold water on scabs on your face. The chilufa sakanta in the reverse is dangerous. Chala lesibure, so you put vinegar, right, is good after a bloodletting. Umonini letanisa.
What do you mean blood? You mean like giving blood?
So what they used to have the belief, right, that in order to reduce blood pressure and
Or if you had ill humors in your blood.
yes, ill humors, you have to get rid of your
Ill
right. So if you tell bad jokes, so if you have ill humors in your blood, right, so then you would get a leech, or they used to use like a lancet,
Slice your wrists.
right, slice a little bit, get some blood out. Right, let some blood out, and that's good for you. But the problem is that they notice that if you let some blood out, you might get weak. Right. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is you want to take some vinegar afterwards. That'll invigorate you. Invigorate you. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's a play on words.
That's good.
So but if you go to umonine letanisa, small fish is good for after fasting. So if you want to break your fast, right? Have some fat.
Like tuna,
right? Some fat.
Tuna is a really big fish.
Yeah, tuna is very big. Right. They just cut it up into small pieces, right?
You want to eat a small fish. You don't come home after you eat sardines.
Right. But chilufa sakanta, if you do the reverse, that could be dangerous. Okay. Right. You might think I'm helping myself in both cases because I'm weak. They're not the same condition, right? One is weak because of bloodletting, one is weak because of fasting. Right. You have to make sure you do your different things. Tachli vesibura sakanta, cress before a bloodletting is dangerous. Right, so be careful before you do your go to.
Cress was again?
I thought it was a vegetable. Yeah.
Yeah? Like there's watercress, I assume.
I know,
like
that's what I'm assuming it was watercress. Cress.
We counted that yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, the cress has been around.
Yeah.
So, Eishasa vesibura sakanta. But bloodletting after you've got a fever, that's also very dangerous.
It's like a fast-growing edible herb.
It's an herb, wow. No, it's not like watercress.
Yeah, that is.
Cress is like that, isn't it? Like it's white and you.
Yeah, but there's also the leaves of it.
Okay,
I think.
There you go. Anyway, so don't bloodlet after you have after you have a fever. Koiv eina vesibure sakanta. If you've got an eye ailment, again, they were worried about these eye ailments, so don't do bloodletting after that. Shani ledag dam, sheni ledam dog. He says that the second day, right, one should go under you. Once you've had fish, you can have bloodletting 2 days later on the second day afterwards. Also, after you've had bloodletting, have fish 2 days afterwards, right? You don't do it like right afterwards. Shlishi lo sakanta, but the third day, that's dangerous, right? So don't eat fish on the bloodletting day itself, is how it comes out, right? He says on the note, right? One may not eat fish on the day of the bloodletting, but he can do so the day before or the day after, but then not 2 days afterwards. That can be dangerous, right?
This could be applicable if you go to give blood or
yes,
get some blood
correct.
work.
Watch your herring consumption afterwards. That would be potential, right?
Good to know.
Tana Rabbanan. A rabbi's word. Hamakiz dam lo yochal chagbash. Right? If you are going to give blood, right? If you have bloodletting, don't eat chagbash. What is chagbash? Lo cholov, don't have milk, right? Don't have gvina, not cheese. Velo betzelin, no onions. Velo shecholim. And not cress. There's our cress again, right? Those are things not so good for you.
Like you're pretty good meal, though. you just cress that one.
Yeah, cross that out. Im achal. So if you did eat it, so Amar Rabbi says Nasi revius dechala. So then you got to help yourself here. You got to bring yourself a revius of vinegar, or revius dechamra, and a revius of wine. Sounds like a vinaigrette, kind of a dressing here. Vinar vinhu, you mix them together. Bahadi adadi vinishte, and drink that. Now, when you need to use the washroom, when you need to use the bathroom, lo mafana el mizrach ashir, go to the east side of the city. Mishum, because hang on, mishum because dekasha recha, because it smells really bad. Nasty. And therefore, what's going to happen is if you go to the east side of the city, the west wind, which blows from west to east, is the weakest of the winds. east to west is a stronger wind. So therefore, you're basically preventing the terrible smell from blowing back towards the city, right? That's your idea. So the smells are bad. Sometimes when it uses words like recha, I'm wondering whether they felt that it was a bad wind, meaning there wasn't just a smell issue, but it was dangerous germs or some kind of a, bad contagion or something that they wanted to be able to keep away from people. But yeah, so go to the east side. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Malin unkali b'Shabbos. So then Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says that you can straighten this is avankali. I said unkali, it's avankali. You can straighten the avankali on Shabbos. Now you're going to ask, what's an avankali? My avankali, right? It's going to be Gemara's ask. Rabbi Abba, istumcha deliba. So he says it is the muscle of the heart. Right, so therefore, if a person winds up, I guess, getting injured or something, and needs
puncture the lung or whatever,
fix massage the heart or whatever. So then you can straighten that. You can straighten that on Shabbos. My asusa. So what do you do in order to remedy your condition? Right, that in order to, I guess, if you have some kind of this heart condition or whatever. Maisi kimonda karuya. So what you should do is you should bring a ladle full of cumin.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of cumin, right? Veninya, which is mint. Ve'agdana, which is asafit, as it says here in the English. Asafetida, which I don't know what that is.
Asafetida?
Yes. And vitzisri, which is savory, right? Some kind of savory spice. Ve'avdasa, and some hyssop grass. And you bring all of those things together. And leliba bechamra. So for the heart, right? So let's say your heart, you have this condition. So if you have a heart condition, so you take these ingredients and you mix them together with wine. V'simanech, and the way that you can remember what to mix it with is v'yayin yismach levav enosh, right? Wine, heart, gladdens the heart. Yeah, you want to tell us about this?
Asafetida is a dried latex exuded from the rhizome or taproot of several species or ferula perennial.
Okay, so some kind of So b'maya, right? So l'ravcha. So if you've l'rucha, so if you've got rucha, which he says a lack of breath, some shortness of breath. So then b'maya, you put it in water, v'simanech, and the way that you can remember that is v'ruach elokim merachefes al pnei hamayim. The spirit of Hashem was floating on the water, right? Just play on words, right? Pasuk to help you remember it, but it's not like the source that you should use this medicine is that. Lechuda b'shichra, and if you have childbirth pain, so then you put this into some beer, right? V'simanech, and the way that you can remember that is v'kada al shichma. Her jug was on her shoulder, right? Her jug was upon her shoulder, so the jug is usually the container that one carries a beer in, right? Nobody carries a beer in a cup or a glass, right? You have a jug of beer. Okay, so Rav Acha Braid Rava, Rav Acha the son of Rava said, Shachik luhu lekulahu. So what you got to do is you got to grind up all of these ingredients. Bahadi hadadi, mix them all together, right? V'shakale male chamish etzbasei. And so you grab a fistful of the mixture, your 5 finger full of the mixture, v'shasile, and then drink up. That's what you got to do. Rav Ashi shachik kochad chad lechudei. Rav Ashi says that wasn't the procedure. Take each of these ingredients and you grind them up separately. V'shakal mulei etzba'ei, and then you take a pinch, a fingerful from each of them, and you mix them in. Right, so mulei etzba'ei rabasi. So then you would mulei etzba'ei zutarti, and then you would take a pinch, right, to add it to each of the liquids. Right, Amar Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, "Ana avdi lekohani." I did this. Look, I did all these remedies below istoi, and it did not heal me. So he went to the Arab merchant cure, and Isi Kuza Chadata. So he got himself a new jug, right? And I guess maybe he avoids germs that way. Gets himself a new jug, Umalia Maya, and he would fill it with water. Vrami Be Tarvada Deduvsha, and he put a spoonful of honey into it. Detali La Be Kochve, that was left under the stars, open. Revealed under the stars all night. Ulamachar, the next day, Ishti, I drank it, right? Drank the contents the next day. Of Dihachi, so I did that. v'istoi, and I got better. Right? It's a little spoonful of honey and water, basically, is what he.
What's the
had.
purpose of this medical treatise in the middle of the
Of Avodah Zara? We got ourselves a little sidetracked because the Mishnah had said don't go to a non-Jewish doctor, and then we went from there to things that doctors were prescribing, and then we've just gotten into. Here's a whole list of diseases. There are two types of Gemara. There are two places I think the Gemara does this. Brachos, it goes through, gets into a whole bunch of remedies for all kinds of illnesses as well. So this one, that one, this one, and that one. But yeah, Tana Rabbanan. Our rabbis would. Shisha Dvar Mirapin Es Hachola Michal Yo. There are 6 things that heal a sick person from his illness. Urafuas and rufua, and it's a valid medical cure, right? Ve'eluhain, here they are. These are good foods, right? So you make sure you eat these every day. Kruv, get some cabbage, vichardin, and beets. May sisin yavesha, water of a dry pennyroyal. I don't know what a pennyroyal is. I'm just telling you what the translation says. You can pull out the phone. There you go. It's like a type of right. It's probably some kind of a flower or something. He's going to look it up. Vikavas and the maw of an animal. I think it's like a jawbone, right? The heres and the womb. That's the womb of the animal. Vioceras hakaved and
the mosquito plant.
A mosquito plant.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And the diaphragm, which is the goes over the yoceras on the liver. Right? V'yesh omrim, and some say af dogim ketanim, even small fish. V'lo od, not only that, el shadogim ketanim mafrin umarbin kol gufo shel adam. If you eat small fish, that is good for your body. Very good for you. Omega 3s, lots of protein, good for your body. That's what Rashi says. So no, he doesn't.
You felt the fish also?
That's a gift.
fish?
I'm not sure what that is, right? No. Sardines, those kinds of things.
Herring.
Asar devar machzir nesachola lechol yo. You eat 10 things, and if you weren't all the way better, if you weren't healthy, you're going to get sick again. V'chal yo kosha. It's bad for you're going to get more severe illness than it was before. Eluhain, this is it. This is what you. Ha'ucha basar shor shuman. If you eat fatty ox meat, right? Too much red meat. Basar tzli, roasted meat. Basar tziporim. If you have chicken, poultry, right? Too much chicken. Ubeitza tsaluya. If you have roasted eggs. V'shacholim, cress. There it is, back again. V'tiglachas. If you shave, umerchatz, and bathing, too much shaving, too much bathing, not good for you, right? Ugvina, cheese, v'kaved, and liver. V'yesh omrim, and some say af egozim, even nuts. V'yesh omrim af kishuan, and some say even cucumbers. As we said, large cucumbers were dangerous. Small cucumbers were okay, as we had previously learned.
How large are cucumbers more dangerous if it's...
How are large cucumbers dangerous?
Yeah.
I guess if you don't chew it well, large cucumbers can be very dangerous. Just saying. I'm not sure that the medical science of current today equals the medical science. I think some of these
Who knows about the Kabbalah of this ancient medical knowledge?
Don't know exactly. So I don't know. But if you eat it at your own risk, I'm just telling you what the Gemara says. Tana debei Rabbi Yishmael, the Yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael, they learned Lama Nikra Shimon Kishuin. Why are they called cucumbers? Why are they called this word Kishuin? Mebnei Shehein Kashin Lekol Gufo Shel Adam Kecharovos. They are bad for your body like swords. So cucumbers at your own risk. Vein mistaprin mehen bechol makom. You're not allowed to get a haircut from non-Jews. Haircut's not very difficult. Don't get a non-Jew haircut.
Not to look at myself a haircut. Like I went to Peter's and I used.
So that's the issue. So Tana Rabbanan. So that was Rabbi Meir's opinion, right? The Chacham said in public you're okay. So if you went to Peter's,
Don't go to their house or something.
Correct. Oh. Don't go don't have him come to your house or go to his house. Right? Go to the shop, someplace public. Tana Rabbanan. Rabbis were Yisrael mistaper me'oved kochavim roa b'mar'eh ve'oved kochav roa b'mar'eh. So a person, if a Jewish person is getting a haircut from a non-Jew, he should keep a mirror, right? Keep watching what the guy's doing, right? So keep looking in the mirror. That's why the custom is to have a mirror. Everyone's wondering, why is there a mirror whenever I get a haircut? Right?
Jews are behind
everything in the barbershop, you'll keep your mirror.
That's right. You keep an eye on him to the mirror. Ve'oved kochavim hamistaper miYisrael. If a non-Jew is getting a haircut from a Jewish person, kevan shegia le bloriso, so they would keep a part of their hair long for the idolatry, right? So they would have like a ponytail or whatever, the kind of like the Jedi or whatever thing that they would have.
You mean like
Sorry.
Star Wars.
More Star Wars reference.
like Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yes,
Or-
like for example. So Shomet es yado. So when you get to that part, you don't want to be a part of keeping that nice and neat for his idolatry. So therefore you stop when you get near it before you cut it.
It's the mullet that we were talking about before.
Yeah, something like that. He had long hair in the back. Or
It
something.
was a thing. It was
So-
it was part of the.
Amar Mar. So Mar said, Yisrael mistaper me'ovi kochavim robe Mar. So he's just told the Jew that if he's getting a haircut from a non-Jew, he should look in the mirror. So heichidami, what circumstance are we talking about? Iber rishus harabim. So if he's in a public place, lama li mara, why does he need the mirror? Ever he's looking, he's safe. If he's by himself, kiro and myhavi. So what different? How's it going to help him? He's going to watch the guy stab him in the back. How's it help to be able to have the mirror? So liolam versus a yachid. So really, we're talking about in a private location. Once he's got a mirror, mischazi ka'adam choshev. The non-Jew is going to think, oh, this guy's got a mirror. He's an important person. I better not mess with him, right? As we said, that in a circumstance where the non-Jew may be afraid of law enforcement as a result of killing, he's not going to kill. So therefore, if he thinks the Jew is very important, the Jew shows up with his own mirror, so then he's not going to do anything.
Does this mean that in the times of the Mishnah there were salons? Like hair salons? Like people were cutting hair publicly in shops?
I don't know that. It sounds as though he's in some place that is sort of private. I guess there were public places. Maybe the guy did have a shop set up, right? Right. And then the private places, right? If he's going to come to my house, I have my own mirror. So, you know, right? You know what kind of a guy I am. So watch it. So Rav Chana, they were very easily impressed. Rav Chana bar Bizna hava mistaper me ovi kochavim. So the story is Rav Chana bar Bizna. He got a haircut from a non-Jew. Bishvili de Nardai, and the location of the haircut was in these thoroughfares outside of Nardai. And the roads outside of Nardai, they were traveled. People traveled. They weren't very private, but they also weren't very public. It wasn't like there was heavy traffic constantly over there. So the non-Jew told him, he says, Chana, your neck is crying out for my razor. I'm just like really tempted, right? That's the point at which you don't leave a tip. I'm just saying, right? That's not what you want to hear the things you do not want to hear your barber say.
No, you're not getting the tip. You're getting the tip.
So Amar, he said, Teisili, it's my own fault, right? Da'avri ad de Rabbi Meir ad Rabbanan, because I violated Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan told me not to get into this situation. So I'm sorry, ad Rabbi, I violated Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said even in public, don't get into this situation. Vad de Rabbanan lo avar, didn't he violate also the Rabbanan? After all, this is sort of a private-ish location. It wasn't a public enough location. So, Amar Dama Rabbanan Birshus Harabim, Birshus Yachid Mi Amar. After all, the Rabbanan said that you can get a haircut in a public place. They didn't tell you you're allowed to be in this semi-private place. Who thought that Shvili Dinardoi came into Shchichi Rabim, since the pathways of the roads around Nardai, since there are many people who pass by, Kirishus Arab Damu, that is like a public place. He thought that was sufficient enough to be acceptable. So therefore, the only thing he was upset about is that he didn't listen to Rabbi Meir, got himself into trouble.
This prohibition is for safety?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a safety issue. Correct. So nowadays, that non-Jews don't normally kill their customers. Very hard to have
shave off their pants. So that's
they do. You have to watch for that, right? No. But otherwise, return customers are really hard to find if you're killing them. So they're right. So you don't. It's not good for business. The Ovi Kochavim Mistaper Yisrael. So then we said a non-Jew who's getting a haircut from a Jew. When he gets to this hair in the back, he takes his hands away, stops cutting. Vikama. So how much does he have to leave? Right? You don't want to, like, if he's got this little pony, you don't want to cut right up to the pony. Then you're making it look nice, right? So how much are you going to leave? So Amarav Malchia, Rav Malchia says, Amarav, the name of Rav, Under Barava, Shulsha etzbos kol ruach. You have to leave 3 fingers on either side of it, right? So that way you don't come near.
Bad haircut.
Yes, exactly. That is a bad, right?
No.
That's correct.
Wouldn't they just make the ponytail longer, like wider? And it would just
yeah, I guess that he didn't want that though, right? I guess they wanted it to look neat and nice, right? Amar Rav Chanina, braid Rav Ika. So Rav Chanina, the son of Rav Ika, pointed out Rav Malchia and Rav Malchio had very similar names. and they were easily mixed up. And so we want to keep track of who said which things. So shapud, when it comes to a spit, roasting an animal on a spit. So after the animal is roasted and you take the animal off, the spit is all yucky. So therefore, it's muktzah on Shabbos or Yom Tov.
How do you get the animal out?
How do you get the animal out?
Muktzah, yeah.
Well, we pull the animal away, right? But now the spit is sitting there. You just leave it. You don't touch it, right? Rav Malchiyo, we're going to see it's Rav Malchiyo, I think it is, who says, there's Rav Malchiyo, sorry, the Rav Malchiyo says that you can move it to the side anyway, right? It can be pushed out of the way. Shvachos, when it comes to maid servants. So this is the halacha of Malchiyo. What's the maid servants? Says maid servants. Yeah, so if somebody gets married, so the wife has certain responsibilities of what she needs to take care of in the home, right? The husband is supposed to take care of his wife, the wife is also supposed to take care of the home. If she is wealthy, and she comes in with maidservants, so there's a machlokas. Can she be off the hook? Does she have to do any work herself or not? So Rabbi Eliezer says, so the Tanakama says, that she's got maidservants. She doesn't have to she just has to supervise, right?
Even if you have maidservants, won't you want to maybe help them out a little bit?
No, that's just being a nice person, right? Whether you have to or you don't have to. Rabbi Eliezer says you have to, right? The woman has to get involved, right? Idle hands, not a good thing, right? And Rav Malchio says that he agrees with Rabbi Eliezer. And then when it comes to gumos, so we know that in order to be able to tell whether a person is an adult or not, they have to have two hairs. So when they get two hairs, so they're supposed to have hairs that come out from defined pores. If the hairs are not there, but the pores are, is that enough of an indication? So Rav Malchio says yes. So those are all the stories of Rav Malchio. Those are all the halachos of Rav Malchio. He's the one who comes to us. Blorius, this case of Bloris, the hair, not giving help with the non-Jew with his haircut, and Afer, and the ashes.
DIY tattoo.
That is, it's like a tattoo, yeah. Ashes is when the person has some sort of a cut, and to heal it, or to you cover it over with ashes, but you're not supposed to use ashes for it, because if you put ashes into your cut, then it's like a tattoo, right? Because you're going to wind up making it permanent.
You have a metal thing, you make it hot, and you burn the cut. Would that also?
So that's not the same thing. This is ashes that makes ashes makes the dye into the skin.
Would that be a problem if you did that?
It might be helpful if you're going to cauterize the skin, but I'm not going to tell you to. That has not to do with the point. Is that is not the halacha that we're talking about, right? Makla, that is the case of cheese. So Afer mikla is oven ash. That is the case that we were talking about. And vina is cheese, which we're going to be discussing shortly, which is whether you can have cheese made by non-Jews, right? Rav Malkiah says that you're not allowed to because they would coat their cheese with lard, right? So you can't do that. So those are all, those are...
Lard is fat,
from pigs and things.
Forbidden fat. For one of the forbidden
No, any fat.
Right.
It's like beef fat, it's like tallow.
Yeah.
Right? To keep the cheese, they would cover it.
Yeah.
Because it's airtight.
So that is all Rav Malchia's. Okay, so those are the cases. Amar Rav Papa, Rav Papa says, Masnisen umasnisa Rav Malchia. So he says that whenever you've got a case that's talking about a Mishnah or Brisa, that's Malchia. So he tells you to switch basically the case of the maidservant, switch with the case of the oven ash, because one's in a Mishnah, one's not. And Shmasa, so the ones that is a Amoraic statement is Rav Malchio. V'simana, and the way to remember that is Masnisa Malchasa. That Masnisa sounds like the word Malchasa, that the Mishnah is the queen. Malchia, right? That was his name, Rav Malchia, the queen, right? So therefore you'll be able to remember it.
Well, I call these mnemonics.
Yes. So there, my beinayu, what is the difference? As we said, Hege beinayu shvachos, take the maid case, switch it with the oven ash case, and that is the question of whether it was Rav Malchia or Rav Malchia said either one. Next Mishnah. These are things that you cannot get from a non-Jew. The isur and isur hana, and since they are going to be concerns whether they were used for idolatry, you not only can't eat them, but you cannot actually get any benefit from them at all. Hayayin, wine. right? Because they would use their wine as part of their libations, for their offerings for korbanos. Ve'hachometz shel ovdei chachamim. If they had vinegar that was wine when they owned it, and then it turned to vinegar. Because they owned it when it was wine, now that it turns to vinegar, it's still prohibited. Shahaya mitchilaso, yayin. First it was wine, and the non-Jew had it. V'cheres hadrini. And also if you have this pottery, which was Hadrian pottery, they used to age wine in it. So the wine would get into the container, and then if you poured other wine into the container, the flavor would come out of the container. You basically have non-kosher wine flavoring. Right? It's like they're similar to the sherry cask shaila, right? The oros levuvin, and if you've got, this is the Indiana Jones reference. If you've got skins with the heart cut out of where the heart would be of the animal, because part of the ritual for sacrificing for the Avodah Zara would be to cut into the animal, go in and grab the heart and take it out.
I'm talking about Harrison Ford or the other one?
Yeah, I'm really. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, "Bisman shehakara shelo ugul." This only applies if the cut in the skin is round. Right, it's a rounded cut. Then you know they did it in order to be able to bore into the animal and get the heart. Then it's usher. Moshoch, but if it's just a slit, then it ripped some other way. That's not an indication of idolatry. Then it's mutter. Then the skin is mutter. Basar hanichnas lavodos kochavim. If you've got meat that is going on its way in to the right, they have. It has to be certified that it's kosher somehow. But they knew it's kosher meat going in, so then mutter, then you can eat it. It's not a problem. But v'hayotze, but if it's coming out of the Avodah Zarah place, then you could presume that it was used in a sacrifice for idolatry, and it's usher mipnei shu kezivche mason, because it is like the. No, it doesn't go in and out. We're saying that it came in as an animal. It left as
an Avodah Zarah product.
So if you have meat coming out of a place of idol worship, don't eat that. That is the offerings of the dead. Div Rabbi Akiva says, "Hahochen letarfus aser laseis v'laseis imahen." If they're on their way to some kind of a festival, this is similar to the laws we learned in the first parak. If they're on their way to some sort of a festival, right, don't do business with them. Vehabayin mutarn. But if they're on their way home from the festival, then it's okay. Because then they're not on their way, and they're not going to thank their God with some kind of an offering because they already left, right? They're not going back to
Does it apply today?
It could, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. If they're, this is what wind up. The question is when we have in modern times things like Christmas or things like that. So, how religious is their celebration really?
Yeah.
Right. Most of the stuff that they're doing has nothing to do with. Right. Easter eggs are not actually.
But if it was like some Hindu celebration, everyone
then
was
you
like
might have
Diwali.
Correct. Yes. Then you might have to. Correct.
Because Christmas is his birthday.
The issue that had come up in recent years was, maybe it's not so recent anymore, maybe I'm just old, but there was a question about hair for shaitels that was from India.
Right. Whether they came off dead bodies or
because also because they used them, either they came off dead or they were using them as part of their head shaving rituals for Avodah Zara.
Is that what it was?
Yes, and so therefore, if it was part of the Avodah Zara, they got plenty of hair to sell to the wig makers, right? Huh?
What was the ruling?
That people should avoid using shaitels from India.
Oh, right, because there was bugs inside as well, weren't there?
I presume they wash them. But nevertheless. Okay, so nodos ha'ovdei kochavim, v'kankehem. So if you've got wineskins of idolaters and their containers, v'yayin shel Yisrael knos behen, and you've got kosher wine, Jewish kosher wine that's inside of them, asurin, then it's prohibited. You can't get any benefit from it, right? Ve'asurin iser hana, and the prohibition is a prohibition. You can't get any benefit because they'll absorb the flavor. Divrei Rabbi says. V'chachamim omrim, the chacham disagree. Ein isurin iser hana. It is not a prohibition of hana. Right, we're not worried about the mixture. We'll see in the Gemara's We'll discuss that. Hachartzonim v'hazagin shel ovdei kochavim. If you've got grape seeds or grape peels of non-Jews, asurin, so they are prohibited. V'asurin iser hana. Divrei Meir says those are also going to be prohibited from getting any benefit. Omrim, the chum say lachin, if they are wet grape products. So asurin, then they're prohibited because then it's like for wine. We'll see. Yevation, but if they're dry already mutar, then it's permissible. Hamorius ugvinas base onaiki shel ovdei kochavim. If you've got morius or the cheese of base unyaki of idol worshippers, asurin. So then they're going to be prohibited. Again, we'll wind up getting the base unyaki is the name of a village, right? As Rashi says, that's the name of the village, and otherwise, other cheeses would be permitted. The Gemara is going to explain why that is. We'll see when we get to cheese and Chol Yisrael issues and things like that coming up in about 3-4 days, 4 days. So, so then there are Surin, Yisurin, Isser Hana, and they are prohibited from getting any benefit from them as well. Divir Meir says, any Surin Isser Hana, it is not a prohibition. It's just prohibition of eating it. It's not a prohibition of getting benefit. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Sha'ol Rabbi Yishmael as Rabbi Yeshua. So Rabbi Yishmael asked Rabbi Yeshua when they were walking along the way. Amar lo, he said to him, why is it that cheese, right? There's an old conservative question, right? What's wrong with cheese, right? It's just milk, it's cheese. What's wrong with cheese?
It's expired milk.
So why is cheese of non-Jews not kosher? Amar lo, he said to him, the reason why is because they use the stomachs of non-kosher animals in order to get the cheese to congeal. Right. So the rennet. So rennet is the milk from young calves. They drink the milk from their mothers, and it gets into the fourth stomach. And at that point, it's already got enough enzymes in it from the inside of the animal that if you mix that together with milk, then it helps the cheese congeal, right? So that's what that rennet is. So it would take the stomach from this animal, and they pour the milk into it and then hang it, and it would congeal that way. And if the animal is a nevela, if it's a non-kosher animal, then the taste from the non-kosher animal is getting into the cheese, and that's why you have a problem. That's what he said to him. Amar lo, he said to him, V'halo kevas ola chamur mi kevas nevela. 1 second. In ola, right, korban ola is prohibited from getting any benefit from it. It's even more than a nevela. Nevela, you can't eat it. It's treif, right? But it is not prohibited from getting any benefit. You can throw it to the dogs. You can sell it to a non-Jew. A ola, you can't get any benefit. And Amru, they had made a statement that Kohen Shadato Yafeh, Sorfa Chaya. So if you had a Kohen who is not grossed out by the idea of it, he can drink the milk from the stomach of this animal, and you can drink it raw. Why am I drinking it raw? Because it's milk, right? So it's dairy, and they didn't have any dairy utensils in the Beis Hamikdash.
How
right?
did they pasteurize it back then?
They didn't pasteurize it, so you have raw. So it was they couldn't do anything. They couldn't cook it because they had no dairy utensils, and they couldn't take it out of the Beis Hamikdash and use it because then it would be ruined. You can't take anything from the Ola out of the Beis Hamikdash. So the Kohen wanted to, and he just wanted to eat it raw, drink that milk. And he wasn't grossed out by it because it sounds no, probably gross. But if you, but the point is, you could. There isn't there's a prohibition, and velo hodulo, but they didn't agree with him, right, when he said that. Aval amru, but they said einenin velo moalin, right? We made a rabbinic enactment, right, which is that you're not supposed to drink this milk, not a good thing to get any benefit from the ola, because you're not allowed to get any benefit from the ola at all. But it's not an isser, it's not a Torah prohibition, because if it was a Torah prohibition, there would be a me'ilah, there'd be a prohibition against using something from the Beis Hamikdash without permission. And that he's not doing. He's not using something from the Beis Hamikdash without permission. So therefore, there's no me'ilah here. So therefore, if the rennet from, the point is, the rennet from the ola isn't a prohibition of being from an ola. So therefore, why is the rennet from the nevela going to make the cheese of a non-Jew not kosher? It shouldn't also. Amar lo mibnei shemamidinosa bekevas egle avodas kocham. He says, you're right. It's not because they're not kosher. It's because the stomach comes from an animal that was used for idolatry. And now the idolatry, you can't get any benefit from anything that comes from idolatry. Amar lo, he said to him, Im kain, if that's true, lama lo asura behana. Well, if it comes from idolatry, so then it shouldn't be that you're not allowed to eat the non-Jewish cheese. You shouldn't be allowed to get any benefit from non-Jewish cheese because it should be a prohibition, like we had the wine from before. Anything that is from a mixture of Avodah Zara, you can't get any benefit from it. So Heisil Davar, he changed the subject. Where you see the Gemara, why he changed the subject, why doesn't he give an answer? Is he right? Is he wrong? He changes the subject. Amar lo Yishmael, he says to him, Yishmael, Heicha ta koreh, how do you read the pasuk Kitovim dodayach miyayin? That you read the pasuk in the Shir Hashirim that your love is more precious than me than wine. Do you read it like that? Oh, Kitovim dodecha. Masculine or feminine form, dodayich or dodecha. Amar lo, he said to him, because if it's masculine form, then Hashem is the one who is showing the love to Bnei Yisrael. If it's dodayich, then it's Bnei Yisrael showing the love to Hashem. So kitovim dodayich, he says, you read it feminine. Amar lo, dodecha, I think he says dodecha. He says, ein lo, ein adomarkin, that is not correct. Sharei chavero melamid alav, because the next pasuk teaches, l'reich shemanech, sorry, so he says dodayich, he says was dodayich, which is how we say it. He says not true, because the next pasuk says, l'reich shemanecha tovim, the smell of your oil is good. And that's in the masculine form, so therefore the pasuk before must also be in the masculine form. We will see in explanations of the Gemara as we get in the Gemara. Okay, so now, let's talk about wine. Yayin first. So all the things. Yayin minolan. Where do we know that wine is prohibited from non-Jews? Amar Rabbi bar Avua. Rabbi bar Avua says, Amar Kol, the pasuk says, Asher chalev ziv chemo yochlu yishtu yayin nesicham. Right. The pasuk says that from the fats of their korbanos they eat, and they drink wine from their libations. And so the pasuk is making a comparison. Ma zevach also, just like the fats of their korbanos are prohibited from getting any benefit from, so too, the wine that is used to pour for their korbanos is also prohibited getting benefit from. Zevach kufei minola. Now, how do you know that the fats themselves, the korban itself, is prohibited from getting benefit? The pasuk says, "Vayitzmedu lebal peor, vayochlu zivchei mesim." They connected themselves to Baal Peor and they consumed the offerings of the dead. So why is it called offerings of the dead? Ma meis asra, just like a dead body is prohibited from getting any benefit from it. Av zevach nami asra, so too the sacrifices are also prohibited from getting any benefit from. Umeis gufei minol, and how do you know that using anything from a dead body is prohibited from getting any benefit from it? Because asya shame me egla rufa. We have a gzera shava from Egla Rufa, the calf that is killed when you have a murder victim between two cities. Ksiv Hacha, it says over here, Vatama Sham Miriam. Miriam died there, so she's a dead. It's a Sham. Uksiv Hasam, Varfu Sham Esa Egla Benachal. They broke the neck of the Egla of the calf there by the bank of the river. Malahal and Asabra, not just like the Egla Rufa is prohibited from getting any benefit. Afkan nami also, and so too the body of a person who dies is also prohibited from getting benefit from. So again, how do you know that the Egla Rufa is also prohibited from getting any benefit? Amri de they learn in Shiriyanai kaparak sivba. It says that it is an atonement. Right, and therefore it is kakachim. It's like any other sacrifice. They can't get any benefit from a korban olah from any other sacrifice. So too the egla rufa you can't get any benefit from, and so we just go from egla rufa to a body, from a body to the korban of Avodah Zara, from korban of Avodah Zara to the wine of Avodah Zara. Now we said v'achometz shel ovdi kocham shehaya mas mitchila so yayin. So if the non-Jew owned vinegar and it was wine before, so then when it's vinegar, it is prohibited for a Jew to use. So pshita, that's pretty obvious. Mishum da'achmitz pakal surei. It was wine, so you couldn't use wine because then would have been presumed that he sanctified it for his avodah zara. So now that it changes to vinegar, right? Well, get some vinegar, some wine vinegar, right? Red wine vinegar. So that's going to be a problem. Why would it change? It was prohibited before. Now, just because it changed to vinegar, it becomes not prohibited.
Okay, it's still from the same wine
that's correct. So it should be for the same wine. So Amar Ravashi, Rash says, Ha-asal ashmin, and this comes to tell me that chometz shalanu biyado v'kolkavim ein tzarech chosim b'toch chosim. The answer is to tell us that if the non-Jew buys vinegar and he handles it, it doesn't need a double seal. We're going to see when it comes to wine, we're going to need a double seal. That's gonna if it's wine, that double seal.
Is the foil and the cork?
Yes, the foil and the cork is sufficient.
How about the lid and the clicker of that?
The little clicker, that clicker is not enough, right? That's just going to be one,
Did
right?
we come up with that, or is that?
That's I was wondering whether we invented this by wine.
we invent every little thing.
But that is the double seal. That double seal is going to prevent. So if you've got your regular wine that's not mavushal, you're good, right? But
if the foil is torn, then you can't buy it.
Yeah, don't buy that one. Yes, because the guy from the LCBO might not be Jewish,
or from simple wine,
right? So and what we're worried about is if it's only one seal, he'll open it, consecrate it, and then seal it again, right? That he can get
You
away.
open it for a taste test and then you reseal it, basically.
So now, but if it's vinegar already, that he's not going to do. Now, imishum in suche lo minaschi, because as far as pouring out and using it for his sacrifices, that he's not going to do because it's vinegar. He's not going to use it. V'imishum ichlufe, and if he's going to trade, right, he's going to take your vinegar and put his bad vinegar in the bottle instead, and now you've got his treif vinegar, which could be treif, right? That you could be treif, whatever, I mean, non-kosher vinegar. Kevan deka chosem. Once he's got one seal, lo tarach umizayef. He's not worth it for him, right? It's not worth it for him to trade vinegar by forging a seal.
He's wasting his time, basically.
Right, correct. Amar Rabbi Ilah. Rabbi Ilah says, Shaninu yayin mevushel she'ov dekochavim shahayim mitchila. So yayin aser. It says that if we have wine that's cooked, right? Wine that's cooked also is not used for idolatry. So if they have cooked wine that non-Jews had before it was cooked, then it's prohibited.
Is that why if a non-Jew touches your non-mevushal wine, it becomes treif?
That is,
Yeah.
yes, the non-mevushal wine is bad, mevushal wine is okay. So pshita, this is obvious, mishum de'ivshal pakal isur, just because they cooked the wine, now the isur left. So Amar Ravashi is the same things we said before. Ha'as Oshmina comes to teach us that yayin mevushal shalanu biyadov dekochavim ein tzarich chosim b'so chosim. If you've got yayin mevushal, you don't need a double seal. Right? One seal is sufficient. Imishum in suche lo mnaschli. If it's as far as worrying that he's going to sanctify it, it's not going to happen. And imishum ichlufe, and if he's worried that he's going to trade wine with you, so kevan deka chosem echad lo tarach mezayef. Since you've got one seal, that's enough. He's not going to try to figure out how to break that open. Tana rabbanan rabbis yayin mevushal va'alunsis shel ovdi kochavim asurin. Because if you've got if you've got cooked wine and aluntis, which is a food, which we're going to see has ingredients. One of the ingredients is wine. So if you have that from non-Jews, so then they're prohibited. Why? Because he owned them when it was just wine. The wine would have become non-kosher, and then he mixed the non-kosher wine into it. So aluntis kibriasa muteris. So he says, however, if he had ready-made aluntis, if he bought the aluntis already, so then it's okay, right? Even though it's not mavushal, that's fine because it's got other ingredients mixed in. He's not using that for idolatry. Vezohi aluntis. What is aluntis? So Gabi Shabbos. So we learn by Shabbos, osin anumalin vein osin aluntis. You're allowed to make anumalin on Shabbos, but you're not allowed to make aluntis on Shabbos. Vezohi anumalin. Vezohi aluntis. What is anumalin and what is aluntis? Anumalin is yayin udvashu palpin. Anumalin is wine with some honey in it and some pepper, right? A little spice, a little sweetness, and a little wine. So an aluntis is yayin yashan. It's old wine, umayim tsululin, and it is cold water, farsimon, and a balsam oil. And the reason why you can't have aluntis is because that was used, anumalin, on Shabbos, because anumalin was used as people would not drink that except as a medicinal remedy. And as we said, you can't have medicinal remedies on Shabbos, violation of rabbinic enactment. But when it was this aluntis, right, it was okay because aluntis was sometimes used for other than medicinal purposes. I might have that backwards. We said aluntis. Anumalin was the one you can make because people drink that one, and aluntis is only used for medicinal purposes.
Okay, so you can have mulled wine on Shabbat.
Yes.
Okay.
So da'avdi lebei masafta, because why? Because it was made for people who are coming out of the bathhouse, right? You'd sweat, you'd perspire, your body temperature is too high, so it would give you a nice, refreshing cold glass of aluntis, and that was refreshing. People wouldn't have that other than just in order to refresh yourself after that. Rabbi Rav Yosef, Damar Tavai, Rabbi and Rav Yosef, they both said yayin mozog ein bo mishum gilui yayin. That there's another issue besides non-Jews, and that is leaving your wine uncovered, leaving certain liquids uncovered. They would have problems with snakes getting into their wine and into their water, and therefore, if you leave your wine uncovered, then you are dangerous. Can't drink it because they could have a snake in there.
That's the reason why it's against Allah. If you're working in a restaurant, you have an open bottle open.
That's correct. You have to get rid of it, right?
Are these real physical snakes?
Yes, back then.
That's terrifying.
Yes, exactly. So, right. But if it is diluted wine, then you don't have to worry about it, right? Once it's diluted, snakes are not interested. Mevushal in ein bo mishum nisach. And also, they're very finicky, these snakes. They do not want any cooked wine either. It's not good enough for them, right? Iboy lu. So that's a fine question. Yain mevushal, cooked wine. Yesh bo mishum giloi or ein bo mishum giloi. They ask the question as a question. Does cooked wine, do you have to worry about it being left over open or not? Tashma, come listen. Hey, Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi. Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi testified al yain mevushal on cooked wine. Shein bo mishum giloi. You don't have to worry about it being left open. Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael cholosh. One time at Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael got sick. Al legabe Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud v'Rabbanan l'shuli bay. So to Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud and the Rabbanan came to ask him questions, to visit him. Right, they came to check on him. Yosef v'kami boilu. So they were sitting around together, and he asked them a question. Yain mevushal. So when you get this cooked wine, yesh bo mishum gilui yoin bo mishum gilui. What's the halach? It's a conversation for some time. Could you leave your cooked wine uncovered or not? Amar lahu Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud. So Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirud said, Hachi Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi. This is when Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, we said this is what Rabbi Shimon Lakish says. Mishum Gava Rabba, he said in the name of a great person. Manu, who was this great person? Rabbi Chia was Rabbi Chia. Yain mevushal, when it comes to cooked wine, ein mo mishum gila, you don't have to worry about leaving it open. Because snakes, yes.
How about
You're going to see a story in a second. That's going to how sensitive snakes are.
Bugs can go inside.
That's not an issue to us. If it's a matter of danger. Amrule nismuch. So he says, can we rely on that? So he says, Machvi lahu Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael alive al tzavarai. So he gave him a signal, one of these kind of like taps, because you can rely on me and on my it's on my neck. Havlu havu yosvi. So Shmuel and Avlate was not Jewish. So they were sitting together, and Aisu lekamaihu chamra mevashal, they brought some cooked wine to him. Mashchei liyadei, and so Avlat, he pulled away, wasn't going to touch the wine, right? Very respectful non-Jew. Amar le Shmuel said, Hare amru yain mevushal, ein bo mishum yain nesach. Don't worry about it. It's not yain nesach because it's cooked. You're okay. Am said Rabbi Chia igluye la hahu chamra mevashla, and so the maidservant Rabbi Chia, she left her wine that was mevushal, uncovered, out overnight. Asya lekame Rabbi Chia, so she came before Rabbi Chia. Amar la, he told her, Hare amru yain mevushal ein bo mishum gilui. We know that wine that is uncovered, you don't have to worry about it. Sham a, huh? Might not. Taste good, though. Yeah. Sham a derav adabar ava igli lechamra. Maziga. So the servant of Rav Adabar Ava, he left over wine that was diluted. And Amar Le Hare Amru Yain Mazagim B'Mishum Gila. We don't have to worry about that. Amar Rav Papa Lo Amran Ela De Mazig Tuva. It had better be well diluted. It's got to really well diluted. Of a mazig velo mazig. If it's a little diluted but not very well diluted, shasi umazig. So then shasi, then the snakes do drink from it. Mazig velo mazig mi shasi. Now this is where the question is. What do you mean? The snakes drink something with a little bit? This is how finicky snakes are. V'ha Rabba bar Rav Huna. What about the story of Rabba bar Rav Huna? Hava ka'azil ba'arba. They were in a boat. V'hava nakit chamra b'hadei. They've got some wine on the boat. V'chazi alu chivya. They saw a snake following them. The tsari was swimming after them. Vasi was coming, and they were all very nervous, like Jaws scene here. The snake is coming after them. Amar leila sham'eh, he said to the servant with him, Sami einei dedain. He says, we gotta remove the eyes of this snake, right? It's following us. We gotta throw it off the trail. Shakil kalimaya. So he took a little bit of water, shada bay, and he put it into the wine. The sar lachorei, and the snake left.
This is my favorite Mishnah story.
There you go, right? The snake, how finicky are snakes? Now, that's the point. He didn't dilute it very well. He put a little bit of water in, and that was enough. So achya masar nafsh. So the answer is achia masar nafshe. Everybody knows when it comes to snakes, for good raw wine, they will risk their lives. A maziga. But when it comes to diluted, lo masar nafshe. So it will not. They're not risking it. It's not worth the risk. So if it's completely diluted, then the snakes are not coming. A little diluted, they won't risk their lives. Not diluted, then all bets are off. Snakes are coming.
What's the problem with a snake drinking from the wine that makes it not kosher?
I guess he'll leave venom, and it'll be dangerous.
It's a non-poisonous snake. What if
I guess we're presuming that these snakes are dangerous. Yeah, they got these dangerous wine drinking snakes.
Maybe it does. Yeah.
Okay. So. V'amaziga lo masar nafshe. We'll stop here soon, but he says, but are we gonna the Diluted wine, they don't risk their lives. Rabbi Yanai, Hava Bei Achbori. But what about Rabbi Yanai? He was by this place called Achbori, Va'amri Le Barhedya, Hava Bei Achbori. Havu Yasvi V'Kashasu Chamra Meziga. So they were sitting and they were drinking their diluted wine, right? Pashlu Chamra Bekuba. They were left with some wine in the barrel, right? Vitsarunhu Beprunka. And they, so what they did is they tied the barrel over with a cloth in order to be able to save the wine. They saw a certain snake. What did he do? He needed to get the wine, but that's covered. So what does he do? The Maya, the snake went and got some water, right? And Rashi explains he drank the water, got it in his mouth, went back to the barrel, put it in. And he kept going back and forth, until Verama Bekuva ad Demali Bekuva, the snake kept spitting water into the barrel, and it would cause the level of the water and wine to rise until it got high enough.
If you ask me, that sounds like a very smart snake.
Yeah. These snakes, I don't know what kind of snakes these are, but the snake figured this out, right? And the Sali Khamra. So, and then he was able to get right. He was able to get this, and so you see the Sali Khamra Ilave Prunka Vishasi, right? The cloth, the wine rose over the cloth, and the snake drank it. So therefore, how's the snake doing this? Isn't it diluted wine? He wouldn't risk his life to go after this diluted wine, right? So the answer is, as everybody knows, Amri demazik ihu shasi. If the snake dilutes it himself, he'll drink it, right? He's very fitting. Demazgi achrini lo shasi. Somebody else is going to dilute it. Then he's not going after it. So. Yeah. So Amar Ravashi v'tema Rav Misharshia piruka l'sakanta. So Ravashi says peruka l'sakanta. So he says, right? Don't mess when it comes to danger, right? If you've got don't give any answers when it comes to danger. If a snake is clearly drinking the diluted wine, we've got to stay away from diluted wine too now, right? Amar Rava says hilchos of the halacha is yayin mazug. When it comes to diluted wine, yeshbo mishum gilo, you have to worry about it being left over. The yeshbo mishum yayin nesach, and you also have to worry about the non-Jews using it for sanctification. Okay, that's what we'll stop.
Do these snake stories actually happen, or is there some remnants here that we're supposed to know?
From we're up to.
They're very fantastical.